So what do you think the biggest challenge that your ideal client faces, and how do you solve it?
For I've noticed a lot of, like, founders have a lot to say. They just need someone to be like, "Hey, like, your story is valuable, like, here's how to structure it." Like, some people are also, like, a little bit, like, long-winded. They might, like, say, "Hey, I'm Jeremy Thone, I'm the founder of Video Ghost." No one really cares, like, you kinda gotta get to the point. So, like, one thing I teach is, like, I had one client that had this story where he had creditors that were, like, swirling his office, like, looking for him because he was, like, going bankrupt, but then he ended up, like, exiting later. So I dropped I'm like, "Tyson," so what I would do with him is I'd be like, "Tyson, tell me about the time the creditors were storming your office. Bring me into that situation." And then he'd, like, be like, "Hey, creditors were storming my office." So, like, just like in good writing, like, you need, like, a good hook, right? So, like,
Right.
kind of my job is kinda editorial as well to, like, make them feel comfortable where they're like, "Alright, like, I believe in my story," but also kinda, like, help them say it. And then I think it also helps when I do some of my own video content, and some of it, like, it would be easier if I had someone else, like a partner, essentially, to help me out, pull it out of me.
Oh,
But I yeah, I've had, like, some videos. I had one video, a short that had, like, 500,000 views on
wow.
LinkedIn. Yeah, it was
Nice.
pretty nuts. Yeah, it went off, and that was, like, about, I think, like, procrastination and, like, just, like, I don't know. So I try to do, like, weekly videos of myself too, but I always find that they're not easy. So I think that, like, I think there's a lot of people that have a lot of stuff to say, but they're just scared to say it. They feel like their story's not valuable, or maybe, like, they don't wanna come across as bragging or whatever it might be. There's all these, like, issues going on, or maybe overwhelm of, like, do I use a camera? Do I use a teleprompter? Do I use, like, what mic do I use? There's just a million different, like, decisions that need to be made.
Absolutely.
So my
Absolutely.
job the reason I created that company, Video Ghost, was like, all right, like, well, the podcast production's one arm of it, but the other arm of it is just getting people on video and, like,
Mm,
shorts specifically, like, for, like, top of funnel, just because, like, a lot
mhm.
of the times, like, as you know, like, AI slop is really killing the feed
Do
with,
you
like,
think so?
link
About that. Yeah, do you
yeah, I
think
think
so? Do you think, that people's clones, would make it easiar, like using HeyGen and stuff like that? Is that happening for some of your clients?
you mean, like, actually using a clone of themselves? Is that what you
Yeah,
mean?
the HeyGen, yeah, like the HeyGen and, talking head videos and putting
That is
themselves
interesting.
into yeah.
Yeah, I haven't really explored that too much. What I meant was just more like, I think there's a lack of video content for a lot of
Yeah,
founders on LinkedIn. Most of them are comfortable if they've bought. Well, first of all, I guess there's people that have bought into content as a founder or as an entrepreneur, and people that don't, right? So I kind of
right.
focus on the ones that have already bought into it. But then there's a kind of a gap, right? Because then you have people that write written content, but then, like, the written content is just so, like, saturated now because, like, you could go in and, like, Claude. I use Claude primarily instead of ChatGPT, but, like,
Me too,
Claude,
yeah,
like, you could write something super fast in there
right.
so that it kind of loses
Meaningful,
its.
and it doesn't seem like AI, yeah.
Yeah. I just
Mhm.
realized that it's more about, like, the stories that happen, kinda like what you focus on, and
Right.
then, like, and then the arcs of some of these stories, right? Like, like, some of the things that, like, went wrong, like a layoff or whatever, or, like, the time that you didn't think you were gonna make payroll or whatever, if you, like, you have employees or whatever, and things like that. So I think that a lot of it is learning how to, like, package these things into a way that, like, people, like, in content we talk a lot about, like, opening and closing loops. So, like creating a question in someone's brain, and we're like, oh, like, what, like, how did that person, like, go from, like, homeless to, like, 500K in, like, a year or whatever? Like, you're like, oh, how did
Right,
that happen, right?
right,
That type of thing. So, like, I
right.
think that because I've been hanging out with so many creators, I've kind of studied a lot of that. Like, a lot of good hooks will have, like, a number in it, or like a kind of, like,
Absolutely,
went from here to there type of thing, that type
absolutely.
of thing. Yeah.